Hi there, this is Station 1, and this is a Unit 2 review designed to help you get ready for the Unit 2 test. And in Station 1, what we're going to review is solving an inequality algebraically. So if you notice, there's my inequality. And I just take a moment to observe a few things about the inequality. First of all, I notice it's quadratic because this is degree 2. And I also observe that this is a parabola that opens down because there's a negative in front of the leading term. So in order to solve this algebraically, the first thing I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to find the roots of this equation, and I'm going to do that by factoring. And you'll notice the very first thing I do when I factor is I factor out a -1. That negative in front of the leading term is going to make it hard for me to factor unless I kind of get it out of the way. You notice when I did this that the sign in front of the 8 changed to a positive, and the sign in front of the 12 changed to a positive as well. That's the effect of factoring out that -1. And then I looked for factors of 12 that added up to 8. And so I chose 6, +6, and +2, and the reason I did is 6 times 2 is 12, and 6 plus 2 is 8. So that's how I broke up my B term in this step. Then I put my parentheses around the first 2 terms and the last 2 terms and factored out a GCF. And then using the distributive property, I rewrote this as the product of x plus 2 and x plus 6. So now I know that my roots are -2 and -6. So most of the hard part's over. So the next step in solving something algebraically is to make a number line and put open or closed circles on your roots. So I'm going to make a number line and indicate my 2 roots. And I'm choosing to put open circles right here and right here because in the original problem, if we go up and look at the inequality symbol, there's no equal to there. So I would use an open circle. If I had an equal to, I would color those circles in, indicating that the equal to value was true. So now what I have done is I have kind of carved up my number line into 3 different areas. This area right here that is less than -6. The area in between -6 and -2. And then this area up here that is greater than -2. And what I need to do is I need to find out which part of my number line to shade. So in order to do that, I'm going to test numbers at each point. And I'm going to start by testing a number less than -6. So when I test, I want to go back to the original inequality in the problem. So I'm going to plug in -10. You could really use any number that's less than -6. So I choose to plug in -10. And now I've just got a whole bunch of simplification to do on the right side of this inequality. -10 times -10 is 100, but then I have this negative sign right here. So that's going to give me -100. -8 times -10 is 80, and then I have -12. And my zero's over here on the other side of the inequality. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to simplify this right-hand side further, and I find that this is equal to -32. And that is a false statement. 0 is not less than -32. So I do not want to shade the part of my graph down here. Now I'm going to test the part that is in between -6 and -2. And in order to do that, I chose -4. And I again put that into the original inequality. And then I just have a lot of simplification to do on the right-hand side. -4 times -4 is 16. but then there's that negative outside the parentheses. Negative 8 times negative 4 is positive 32. And then I have negative 12. And if I add these all together, I get 4. And I have a true statement. And that's what I was looking for. So I want to shade this part right here on my number line. And then the last thing to do is to test this part up here, and I chose to use 0. 0 is real easy to work with. It makes our arithmetic simple. So this just ends up being negative 0 and minus 0 minus 12. So on the left-hand side we have 0, on the right-hand side we have negative 12, and this again is a false statement. So I know that these points in between my two roots make the inequality true. So now all I have to do is figure out how to express what's right here on the number line in terms of set notation. So x is in between negative 6 and negative 2. And that's what I'm saying with this number line up here. I don't want to put an equal to sign right there because my original problem didn't have one. So that's how I would solve an inequality algebraically.